So we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 4:04 p.m. And we have 6 people present physically, which is a quorum that's been confirmed by Ken and the county staff. And in Zoom right now, we do not have, and we have a 7th person who's just come in. But on Zoom, we also have Ben with the county staff, and we have Sean with county staff. He's going to be our first presentation this morning. And Mr. Salva just came in, and because of the folks here and everything, anything we vote on today, you have the ability to vote on as the alternate. So you can vote on that. And right now, we do not have anyone showing online as a visitor or as or present here in person. And as usual, we'll go ahead and make this announcement up front. So everybody will have the chance to participate, including people from the general public if they attend. And we'll recognize you at the appropriate time when input is desired and you can speak your piece. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward. And so the first item is approval of the agenda. Have you had a chance to look over that? And if so, is there a motion to approve it?
Vote approval of the agenda is presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. That passes unanimously. Chair's comments, I'm going to take a different approach. So in December, I moved to that point in my life where I'm going on to my 7th decade. And so it's a nice time to reflect, and I've been doing it. So first of all, I hope everyone had a chance to enjoy yesterday off. But around the time of the Martin Luther King birthday, I sort of reflect back, and I know a lot of people now think that there's a lot of turmoil in government, but I was a preteen and a teenager, and then started college finally in 1969. But I always reflect back over that period. So that period shaped my life tremendously, because we had John Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. We had King, who was assassinated in 1968. We had Robert Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1968. We had the only president ever of the United States at the end of that period who had never been elected by the people, Gerald Ford. We had the Vietnam War protest. We had the riots at the Democratic Convention in Chicago in 1968. So as I reflect back, I really see turmoil. So I put things in perspective, and I hope we can all put it in perspective, because it seems like, especially government and organizations are in turmoil for time. Hey, Mr. Baines, how are you? So anyway, just reflect. It seems sometimes a little bit discouraging, but I'm still not discouraged about the opportunity to get to participate. And I saw an interesting quote from a church I follow, and it said something along the lines, and I won't get this exactly right. You never know what you live for until you know what you're willing to die for. And those 3 assassinations that occurred during that period makes me think about that. So anyway, let's reflect a little bit around this holiday and consider how fortunate we are. So with that, on my part, I'll just update. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 members in person in attendance.
Jenny Ford is online.
Okay, Jenny, welcome. So we have 9 in person, 1 online. And Jenny, when you're online, you're not capable of voting. If we need to vote on anything else, Mr. Salva, as the alternate, has the right to vote. So if you missed out on that, we'll go with that. So
We also have one.
I plan on being there in 5 minutes. Sorry, I just got held up in traffic.
Okay, that's fine. We'll see you in 5 minutes then.
Sorry. Thank
There's
you.
also-
Sorry about that.
There's someone that's on a phone call.
Okay,
Um,
that's Jeannie, it looks like. She's calling on while she's driving in, probably.
well, maybe.
Is Jeannie, is your phone number 352-339-5386 or something close to that?
No, I'm 561-289.
Okay, so would the
Sorry.
person, would the person who's calling in from that 352-339 number identify themselves and introduce themselves? Hello? Is there someone?
You're muted. Is it, does anyone know, is it *6? Anybody done that?
On Zoom?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Let's see. Okay, so whoever has the 352-339-5386 number, we'd like for you to introduce yourself, but you're going to need to unmute your phone first. Okay, I don't see that happening, so we're going to go ahead. And I will go ahead when it's appropriate, call for any type of public input. So we're just going to follow the agenda and we're going to go to the new business. And the first item on the new business is we've asked Sean McClendon to be back with us and talk about some of the economic development efforts that are going on in Alachua County that are ag related in some way. And Sean's been with us many times, and we appreciate you for joining us. Appreciate it that you can join us again, Sean.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here today.
So we'll let you go wherever you want to, and I think you're going to give us and one of the questions we had, because it was so successful last year, and I know you and I visited about it informally when they did the dedication of the facility out here and everything, but is the small development grant producer ag grant that you had last year. And I forget exactly, I think you ended up giving up 5 awards of $1,000 and you had 30 some applicants for that. And it seemed like it was really successful. And then you're also going to give us an update on the ag economic development efforts as related to the meat processing facility in the county as well. So we'll just turn the meeting over to you and you can make whatever comments you like. And then we'll let you field some questions afterwards if there are any.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm Sean McClendon. I'm the Economic Development and Food System. I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
All right. I thought you'd heard enough of me. Again, I don't know how much of that you got, but I'm Sean McClendon. I'm the Economic Development and Food System Manager for Alachua County. I think what I'd like to do, Mr. Chair, is start where we last left off with what's the Small Producer Agricultural Capital Support Grant. Back in May of 2021, I think we had our last check-in with Rural Concerns to talk about that grant opportunity. That was focused on small scale farmers that were producing under $250,000 of sales a year in total, had to live within the Alachua County area. And the county commission was offering a grant of up to $5,000 for anybody to qualify. And that money was only to be spent on capital expenditures for select agricultural industries. So things that you can eat is what we were interested in. We weren't interested in funding timber farms and things that could be handled, things that were tactile, not operations. So you could buy a tractor or fencing or freezers or things to help you do agricultural production, but you couldn't pay for labor with it. And so we went to Rural Concerns. We presented our methodology back in May of 2021. We approached the board and later on in August of 2021 with all of our applicants. We weren't sure at the time when we came and presented in May to Rural Concerns just how much interest there would be in the community at the time, but we did take in over 48 applications. And after going through an evaluation process, which Dr. Sanders sat in with us, I don't know if Dr. Sanders, is she there today?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she helped us review all of those applications. We scored them, ranked them, and 37 met all the criteria. And we're happy to say that for that pilot grant project, we awarded 3, 2 full and then 1 partial because we ran out of money. We only had $10,000 in total, which to try out the methodology, see if there was community interest and see if it was valuable in the community. The commission, the county commission was very satisfied with the overall results from it. And at their direction, they said, of course, award the grant applications to these small farmers for their needs. But then they also asked for staff to look for other funding sources so that we could look at all of the applicants that scored at least 30 points. The highest you could get in the application process was around 40 or so points. And they decided that a quality application rolled in around 30 or so points and above. I believe that was at least 34 additional applicants met that scoring criteria. And so staff has been looking for a source of funds to do an award and a follow-up award for all of those applicants that we received for these past few years. We believe that we have found a source of money through ARPA, and staff, my next task is to write up the work plan related to that, because we have to look at their existing methodology that we developed for the SMACA, the Small Producer Agricultural Grant applications, and make sure that it aligns to U.S. Treasury guidance for the spending of those federal dollars. So we might have to do some tweaks to the application process and do some verification of information with those other applicants. But we feel like there is the opportunity to bring at least some additional funds to bear for a minimum of another 34 applicants for that SMACA opportunity. And I'll pause there, Mr. Chair, if there's any questions about this, since this is kind of a review for this committee.
Right. For my clarity, what was the source of funds again?
So we're looking at ARPA dollars for this larger scale application. So that has all manner of U.S. Treasury requirements for reporting and qualifying criteria. Mostly, as you can imagine, since it's ARPA, it's related to COVID impacts. So we would have to follow up with these candidates to verify how and if they were impacted by COVID in their operations. And if anyone's looked at the price of eggs recently or looked at the price of meat, you'll know that a pandemic does have ripple effects in an economy, and it does impact food systems. And especially, it is my feeling that in a community that has a little over 1,600 farms, and where 90% of those farms have a net cash income of only slightly over $7,000 a year after everything has been paid for, even a little bit of COVID probably impacted people's operations. But we'll still have to create a methodology that recognizes that and comports itself to U.S. Treasury rules before we do a disbursement.
Okay, so let me, any committee members have a question in terms of that update?
I just want to ask if the application.
Can we introduce, this is Mr. Baines asking this question, Sean.
I don't know, Sean. I was just wondering if the application process is over with once the grant and all that?
Yes, sir. The application process is closed right now. I don't want to reopen anything until I've locked in an agreed to work plan with our Board of County Commissioners that guarantees that we can meet U.S. Treasury guidelines. So that's my next big task is I have to do that analysis and write up to free up those dollars so that I can allocate them to this purpose.
Okay, and out of, I think you said it was like 40 participants, how many was awarded the grant?
Since it was a pilot, we only had $10,000 to work with. So we could only award 2 for their full request and 1 got a partial award.
Okay.
Other questions for Mr. McClendon on this? Mr. Salva?
It's Mr. Salvo. Have you guys looked at the 23 omnibus? Because a lot of those ARPA funds were rescinded, and I know it passed like end of December. So I don't know if you guys have balanced that out. I think about 100 million worth of ARP funds were rescinded.
So our funding is secured and Alachua County's funding must be encumbered. That is locked up in a purchase order of some kind or contract by December 31st, 2024 and fully expended by December 31st, 2026.
Other questions on that topic for Sean? Larry?
Larry Hall, maybe I didn't understand, what is the total dollar you're looking to have for this year for that funding?
We're looking for 200,000 out of ARPA funds to expend. So that would be assuming that every single farmer requested the maximum award that could be afforded. So we would keep the methodology the same, but a maximum of a $5,000 request.
That would be a huge increase.
Yes, sir. We would be able to do a lot of good with people that have already been through one process. I can't guarantee they wouldn't have a little bit more process to go through before everything was said and done, but I like having the resource available and be able to help out this group.
I have one follow-up question. Is there any follow-up to make sure that these funds are being spent as the applicant stated?
Yes, sir. They had to send in verification of their receipts. They spent the money and we asked them to take pictures. We wanted to have a process recognizing that many of these folks, they have very, very small operations going on. And we didn't want to get so much in their business that it would be intrusive or an administrative burden to us. But we asked for, show us that you purchased what you said you were going to purchase and send us a picture once it's installed or you have the piece of equipment. And they all followed up with us and gave us that information.
Thank you.
Other questions on this topic for Sean? Okay, why don't we move on to the meat processing facilities?
All right, so more current events. This is another ARPA related project. We've been in development for some time, and it's outgrowth of part of those conversations we had with some of the small farmers who also happen to be small ranchers. As COVID was really beginning to impact the meat industry and the ranching industry, we begin to hear stories of people having a lot of problems accessing the processing plants, specifically USDA processing plants. It's not that we don't have facilities within a 100-mile radius of Alachua County that you could bring your cattle to, bring your pigs to, bring your sheep to, bring your goats to. It's a matter of there not being accessible USDA facilities to bring your animals to. And that's how you get retail access to markets. What many of these ranchers were reporting back to us and doing our workshops with them is that they were willing to travel up to 100 miles to get to a facility because they were having wait times, in some cases up to 6 months to get in line. If you're a small producer, you have a small cattle or pig or goat operation, sheep operation, and you're only coming in with a handful of animals at a time to be processed and slaughtered, you can get bumped out of line in a hurry. And if you say, well, I'll just go to a small operation, if it's deer season, you could get bumped out of line for that, or for a feral hog that needs to be butchered in a facility. And that's incredibly disruptive. And we kept hearing these stories over and over again for people saying, I need a place to go. I need a regional facility, at least within 100 miles, that I'd be willing to travel to. We started to develop a program around that. The Board of County Commissioners early on dedicated about 2.5 million to this question. We haven't expended any of the funds yet. The board just recently adopted the finalized work plan. We've been going through a fairly rigorous process of talking to our stakeholders in the community, trying to locate a conceptual location for it, and find institutional partners to help us figure out what needs to go where. We also talked to some industry experts as well. I don't know if any of you are aware of White Oak Pastures out of Georgia. Brian Sapp is an alum, University of Florida Meat Science. He was running an operation up there, a fairly well-regarded operation up there, very vertically integrated ranching operation that also does a lot of their own meat slaughtering and packaging up there. He gave us a lot of guidance to think about the facility size, the shape, operational questions, but we also looked at the overall economics of it as well. And that did take some time to go through that. We worked with the University of Florida, IFAS Economic Impact Analysis Program to look at this contextually as an idea and ask the broader question of, what's the rest of the country doing? And what it turns out is there are a lot of other communities that are doing exactly what we are doing here across the United States, because they're looking at the big meat packing industry and saying, we had so much problems with this and our farmers are having so much trouble accessing it. We need a more reliable processing source for these materials for our local farmers. And they also gave us the overall analysis of, if we built a facility of X size, what would be the impacts of it in our community? And what's the total processing throughput of a facility that we envision? And talking to Brian Sapp and talking to UF IFAS, what we landed upon is a facility around 10,000 square feet in size. It's about the same operating size as UF Meat Science Lab. And the idea is that it would again be for niche meat processing. So it would cater to the small to mid-sized farmer first and foremost. And it would also provide a vocational opportunity for people to learn meat cutting skills. And meat cutting skills is probably anybody that's, tried to butcher an animal before, it is a highly skilled trade. To do it well, to do it right, to get the maximum amount of benefit out of the primal, you have to know what you're doing. I know Cindy, I'm a neophyte compared to her knowledge and information in this. She knows, how skilled an individual has to be able to work artfully in a meat slaughterhouse. And so we see that as an opportunity to do workforce training as well as to service our ranching community in the North Central Florida region. In total, facility about 10,000 square feet is estimated to bring in a net economic impact of around $10 to $15 million a year, depending upon the throughput of animals. It could process at peak efficiency and productivity for the square footage that we envision about 15 animals per day at maximum. At maximum employment for that square footage, it could directly employ 12. But any industry has ripple effects in an economy. So the direct, indirect, and induced economic benefits would mean about 70 jobs overall if you had a facility like this located. But then that gets back to where could you locate a facility like this? Our friends in Newberry, Florida, the city of Newberry, have a keen interest in working with the county and making sure that their agricultural heritage is maintained. And as you know, we've got a partnership around the Ag Tech Park of Newberry with IFAS and our new fairgrounds operation there. But they also just recently closed on another couple hundred acres or so of land for an expansion of their wastewater treatment plant. Newberry is under a mandate to update their sewage treatment process. by 2026. And with that system, we could connect in something like a meat processing facility. Also on that environmental park, as they're calling it right now, we would also have some solid waste facilities, but interestingly, a composting facility. So we've already been in communication with a composter that's coming in and talking to them about closing the loop on the nutrient stream that would come out of the waste products of the meat processing facility and be able to turn that over back into agricultural compost. So there was a good kind of closing of the organics loop that we really like conceptually about this. It's built into the overall design. Our next steps after we've done all this work with talking to UF-IFAS and making sure they're on board, Santa Fe College to make sure they're in agreement on the vocational aspects, our workforce board to make sure that they are also willing to help out. We've spoken to the Cattlemen's Association and the Farm Bureau about that, as well as had all of our stakeholder meetings with local ranchers. Our next big steps are to finalize our work with how we're going to begin the architectural document creation. There's a lot of other parallel activities that have to happen, because I just gave you all the timeline for the expenditure and the encumbrance of funds. There's a tremendous amount of work that has to happen in a relatively short amount of time for a multi-million-dollar facility. 2.5 million gets us part of the way there, but not all the way there. So we're looking for other funding sources, and we've just completed a request to the Florida legislature, a $2.5 million request to make up the balance of the funding requirements to build out the facility. That's estimated. We have some meetings that are going to be set up with our federal representatives to gauge their interest in supporting further capital expenditures as well. And that's a lot of information to absorb in a brief amount of time, but we've had a fairly intense year and a half or so of working on this. And so I'm kind of dumping a lot of information on top of y'all in a hurry. I will pause for a second to let you ask me some questions about what it is we think we're doing over here.
Okay, so let me open it up. Does somebody have a question they'd like to ask right now? This is Mr. Baines again.
Yeah, this is Wayne Baines. Just kind of, seemed like y'all already made a decision to put in a Newberry. Seemed like everything is around Newberry right now. I don't know, I guess y'all not looking at Alachua or Waterville or Hawthorne areas at all. But it kind of shocked me that, during deer season, I know most hunters, they clean their own deer or cut up their own deer and stuff like that. So I'm not opposed to the center or anything like that. I'm just kind of shocked, or it's like that you said that most of them are full up around that time for small cattle farms. I understand that the big cattle farms and stuff like that, but where are the current where are the current ones located now that they can go to and have their cattle butchered?
So Mr. Chair, what I'd like to do is send you all the white paper that we commissioned in coordination with the University of Florida IFAS, so y'all can read through that. There is a map on there that shows the location within a 100-mile radius of the other facilities. The trick of it is, though, it's not just that there's a facility available, that it's a USDA facility. And if you are a rancher that wants to bring a select piece of meat to market, you need that USDA certification on it to be part of a retail establishment. It's not just a matter of butchering the cattle. It's about getting exactly what you need back in a way that is marketable in a retail environment. So that's the main thing. And to the general question about location, it's always good to have a plan B. But the thing that enticed us out to Newberry is it's a good fit thematically with what way Newberry sees itself. Second of all, they are offering the utility connection, which is a fairly large expense to the county for the operation, and the land, which is going to be by the time it's all said and done, a shovel-ready site, which is really huge. That leaves us a lot of room to invest the monies that we have in the vertical construction. So that's probably what we'd be looking for in a partner. And the other critical link in the chain of developing a facility like this, of a meat processing facility, is you have to do something with the liquid effluent, which there's a tremendous amount. And so you need a wastewater treatment facility that can take that material. It seemed like there was a great alignment there, since they're having to build out that facility right now. Theoretically, our facility could come online just as their new wastewater treatment facility was required by state statute to be in operation. So all those three components together make a really compelling case to locate a facility like this out of Newberry, Florida. Not that we wouldn't consider other operations for other parts of the community, which we are for other things. But for right now, Newberry is the best location for a variety of factors for us.
So, and maybe Cindy can speak to it with more knowledge than anybody else in the room. But this is also a different concept for a lot of the small animal production in Florida, and especially cattle, because we don't fatten a lot of cattle out. And so most of our cattle goes out as feeders, and they go to Texas and Oklahoma and places out west. Am I right?
Right.
They do the slaughtering out here, there, and then they bring it back. And this would develop a little niche market where you would be able to, those who thought they could afford it, had small herd size, could fatten them out and mark them right here without having to send them out west. Yes, sir.
My name is George Mills. With this USDA certification, will you be able to transport this meat or meat across state lines with that certification?
I'd probably defer to Dr. Sanders on regulation requirements, but my understanding, if it's got a USDA stamp, it opens a lot of doors. I would tend to think that the meat that would be produced would go to more local Florida markets, just because of who's producing it. I do know that we have a fairly thriving goat industry here that services the South Florida markets. So I could see that being a kind of a stretch venue for us. But I'd have to defer to someone else to talk about crossing state lines, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
Cindy, you wanna go ahead and comment.
So yes, Sean's correct. You can, with USDA inspection, you can go across state line. If you have the proper permitting to transport that and proper refrigeration. So you have to have a refrigerated truck and all that kind of stuff. But yes, that'll allow you to go across state lines because it's been USDA inspected. It also allows producers to sell at farmers markets legally with a USDA inspection. So without USDA inspection, the only way people can sell meat is by putting for animal consumption only on it, which is not legal. Because we know you're not feeding your dog a T-bone steak. So anyway, this will help local producers be able to sell legally at farmers market and other small retail wards or anywhere like that because it's USDA certified.
Other questions, Jordan?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit to the management of the facility once it does come online? Is the idea to keep the county in management of it or to go to a third party and to make a profit? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that is an excellent question. So you do not want me running a meat processing facility. Thank you very much. I have no idea what I'm doing. But to that effect, there are people that do know what they're doing and they know how to effectively manage it. A lot of them come out of the University of Florida. A lot of people that we leaned on to develop our thinking to the best of our abilities came out of the University of Florida program that guided us. So we'll be looking for a third-party operator. And the idea would be, just as we did with our work with the economic development for the sports event center, we said, we will fund the hardest part of this. We will fund the capital. We will build the structure, the thing that, is really the most difficult thing to do. You as an operator, this is what we told the sports event center, you will cater this facility to this market. You will draw in tourists from all over the Southeast because you will have an amenity that no one else has access to. And you will make hopefully as much money as you can, drawing in as many tourists as you can. And that facility is estimated to bring in $1.2 billion over the next 30 years. And so that same level of thinking goes in. We're going to have a meat processing facility that the county will pay for, but it will be incentivized to process as many goats, pigs, cows, and sheep as possible within the North Central Florida area from small to mid-sized ranchers.
Will it have like, where like Alachua County citizens have priority status, or like, is there a way, because if you incentive, like, and I don't know how to ask this question properly, that either Alachua County gets first dibs on access, or smaller farms get first dibs on access, kind of thing?
I think we'd have to work through that, that methodology of who gets first. But I think a lot of interest from the state legislature is the fact that it's a regional processing facility, and a lot of these smaller farming operations that are in Alachua County and in the Newberry area, they also spill over into the surrounding counties as well. And these are areas that are really vulnerable to new development opportunities, like they're on the cusp of their last crop being a row of houses. And so we see it as a net win for the region. And that's really what the economics are telling us as well. We feel that if we build something more locally here, it will be an economic benefit to our region first and foremost, because it's located here and we have a say in it, and then it have spillover effects, knock-on effects, kind of on down the line.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
This is George Mills again. With this facility, slaughterhouse, collaborate with the job training facility, teaching meat training, because I'm involved with an organization that contemplating building job training school in the same area. That's good.
Yeah, we're very excited about the vocational opportunities related to this. We've got a letter of support from UFIFAS related to that. We've extensively talked about their program, their meat science program out there. It is the goal to be able to train people to be butchers and hopefully meat lab managers as well out of this facility. Our idea is that the facility is modular, so that over time we can grow freezer space, but potentially also grow classroom space over time, so that we can again get the benefits of serving the local ranchers in our community, but also getting that culinary skills job pipeline set up. Be able to provide certificates to people that they could transfer anywhere in the world, really.
Anyone else have a question? Mr. Baines?
And you said it's trying to partnership with Santa Fe High School or Santa Fe College?
Santa Fe College.
Because I know, I think Santa Fe High School also offers some type of forum type program for high schoolers out there. So, because I know, getting workers, have been a challenge, especially for the farming industry, period, whether it's livestock or just, product, produce. Talked to a couple of farmers saying that, they had acres of strawberries or different types of fruit that couldn't be picked that ended up going bad. They didn't have nobody to, work with and stuff like that. So I know that's going to be a big challenge. So, hopefully that's like you say, a big component there.
Anybody else have a question?
I got a question.
Yes.
It's one thought, so have, I'm thinking, but have anybody talked to FSIS from USDA? So if you get this certified, it requires FSIS inspectors in it.
Right.
And my worry is that those inspectors are, one, short, and two, they usually go to like the big slaughterhouse. So I think the selling point for this is that it's USDA certified, but if you don't have inspectors to be USDA certified, then you're just gonna produce basically the same thing we have now, like, we can't put it to market because there's no inspectors to provide certification.
Yeah.
So has anybody reached out to them to say, hey, if we do this, we don't have a throughput like a big slaughterhouse, we have a smaller throughput, and you guys go provide inspectors to make sure the slaughterhouse like, we go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The USDA inspection is key. And so we've had informal conversations with USDA, but now that we're contemplating moving into the construction document phase of things, they need to be embedded in the front end, because our understanding is that before you go out and commit to a design, commit to a floor plan, it's really important to bring your friendly neighborhood USDA inspection team into the conversation, so that they can see what you're doing and provide comments, because ultimately you want them housed in that facility as well. You want them to feel like they've had a say in the design and they feel comfortable with the operations and the layout.
So you have done that, you started to talk to them already.
Yeah, but we're at the beginning stages now of bringing a USDA representative more into the conversation.
Thank you.
Others, I have a couple of quick ones, Sean. So you're going to have a local bill trying to secure the 2.5 million from the legislature?
Well, that's the hope. It was well received at the legislative delegation meeting at Santa Fe College last week. It was last week, right? Time flies. So City of Newberry got up and supported us for the request as well. We'll see how it goes. Are we still here? Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah. So because my question is, we have three different people representing us in the legislature, or a portion of the county in the legislature. So it would be nice if that was going to be the approach, if all three of them would get on board instead of just one, or two from one party and one from being party oriented, that the community was behind it. So that was one of my questions. And then I did catch a little bit of the county commission meeting when this was approved and you were making a presentation. And obviously there were some people that were not in favor of spending the money like that, which isn't unexpected. But one of the things, if I understood you correctly, you said that the full total impacts of the indirect, direct, and induced would be about 70 jobs. And you're talking about a 5 million capital project. So you're talking about 70,000 expenditures per job created. Do you just happen to know, is that in the ballpark for jobs in Alachua County?
I haven't done an analysis to say how this compares to other types of facilities. It would probably be somewhat unfair to do that comparison, maybe, but I think, you know, for the analysis itself, it gave us a degree of confidence more than anything else, that this is not something that is unique. Many other local governments are doing this, and the scale of meat production that we're talking about is kind of a known quantity within the meat processing industry. We're a small to very small scale size facility, and you know, these niche USDA scale facilities, why they aren't the most common. Small scale facilities can be found across the United States. It's not where the majority of the meat processing comes from, but there's still a huge amount of material that does get processed out of facilities like this.
Okay, and I just got two more short questions. So obviously one of the major beneficiaries in terms of having the facility are the producers, but they're secondary beneficiaries as well. And as for those people who are getting trained and who may work out there for a while, but there's a lot of benefits to private industry by expanding, it seems to me, expanding the people capable of doing the butchering and meat processing that's with the private grocery stores. So are you getting any support from them in this effort?
So we have, I would call it, conceptually talked to people within the industry about what our ideas are and had some good feedback. We have earmarked some funding support from the private sector, anticipating that they will step up and be willing to join us either for the vocational meat cutter side or potentially on product development side of things. Because we will, in the total equipment list, we'll be wanting to be able to do some value add operations within the facilities itself, whether it be sausage making or other types of rendering type products as kind of offcuts of the animals that come in.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that because I think that would be beneficial. And then my last question I have, and it's an open-ended question. So when you and Commissioner Trivia came to us last year on the other topic we talked about today on the grant program, and it seems like the committee wrote a letter of support expressing that they approved and endorsed that process. Is there anything that the committee could be doing, or would it be beneficial to have another support letter if the committee decides such for this process?
It would be greatly appreciated. I think it's a very important, as you are one of the stewards for our rural communities, for our farmers. I think it's very important that since you were an advisory board to them, that they hear your opinion about this facility. And if there's anything we need to do to improve it as well. We take all of your advice to heart. We did for the SMACA grant and made improvements to the methodology because of that. So anything you can do to reassure our Board of County Commissioners that we're on the right track with what we're doing or how we can do it better would be very much appreciated.
Okay, and I do need to ask, since we still have a phone number that's showing and we haven't made contact, is there any person online that would like to ask a question or make a comment?
Mr. Chair, you might say that *6 is what unused phones on there.
Okay, so *6 unmute your phone. Right now you're muted. Whoever's on the phone line.
And I did have an email, Mr. Chair, a few minutes ago from James Longenecker,
Okay,
who says that she is watching this meeting on Skype,
okay,
and that phone number may be her.
okay,
Somehow she wasn't sure.
okay.
Maybe James Longenecker.
Okay, it could be James. So we've given them the opportunity, so we'll do that. So I guess I need to ask the committee a question. So you've heard Sean's comments, and we do appreciate you coming back and updating it. And then the last one, I think is real important from the committee perspective, and it's the will of the committee. But is there any desire by the committee to write a formal letter of support for this project moving forward? And I'm assuming that would also include encouragement for the special funding from the legislature. So that's a question to the committee. A letter of support or just stay where we are?
It seems like they already going forward. I don't know how much more it would do, but it seems like it's not really needed. It seems like they're going forward with it.
Ms. Chair,
Yes.
I know that the county commission greatly appreciates hearing from all of their advisory boards at whatever stage of a process they happen to be in. So please don't feel like a letter of support would be unwelcome in any way whatsoever. I think they do need to hear from you as an advisory board, and we're still, relatively speaking, at the very beginning of this process.
Okay, Jordan, were you wanting to say something?
I mean, but I'm good right now. I think Larry.
Okay. Any other comments, Larry?
Question, would it be appropriate to have a letter to the county commission and a letter? Can we send a letter to our legislative delegation, or does it have to go through the county commission?
So let county staff speak to that. I would think that we address it to the county commission with a carbon to the state legislative delegation.
That may be a way to do it, Mr. Chair. Yes, to address, since this is an advisory board of the county commission, address a letter to the county commission.
Sean, would that, from your perspective as the person who's sort of been leading this effort, if the committee decided to do something and address it to the board with the carbon copy to the legislative delegation, would that be appropriate?
That would be greatly appreciated, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
Okay, other questions?
Based on that, I would move then that this committee send a letter to the county commission with a copy to the local legislative, state legislative delegation in full support of the funding for the new facility, not the slaughter facility, the
Process.
So for the county to support this and the legislative delegation to find the funding requested by the county to complete the project.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Janet Hearn, moved by Larry Hall, that we send a letter of support to the county commission with a copy to the state legislative delegation from the committee. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, question's been called for. That's not debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, that passes, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9-1.
And I just want to add a comment. That,
Sure.
That we included in the vote count.
The vote count?
Yeah.
No, okay. I don't. Anybody have an objection to that? Okay. So be it. Okay, well, Sean, we thank you for your time again, spending with us. And if there's anything we can or need to do on the encouragement on the grant process, if you will let us know, because I think our discussion after last time, and I know you've talked about this before, but we've got 3 new committee members since you last talked to us about the projects. And so it's good to let them hear what we were doing and getting up to speed, and if it's been useful or not useful. So if something comes up, please let us know.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will do that.
Okay, and if you need to go, we appreciate your time today.
Thanks, sir. Take care all.
Okay. I always do this. I don't know why, but I always skip. I believe I skipped over the approval of the minutes again.
Mr. Chair, so I've had an email back and forth with James Longenecker. She just emailed something about this item, the letter, meat processing support item. Would you like me to read her email?
Yeah, go ahead and read it, please.
Okay, so this is James Longenecker email. I can't unmute because it's an internet application. I would like to add on to the wholesale comment that restaurants are desperately wanting to purchase local meat and need USDA certification. In support of a letter, I will draft something for next meeting. In that letter, I would suggest we include Mr. Bain's idea of vocational training through Santa Fe and the current culinary students at Eastside.
Okay, anybody have any objection to James working with the staff?
Do we need, how quickly do they need the letter? That would be my only question. When are they going to?
So the legislature will actually start in March this year. So if they get it within the next month, it should be enough time for that. Committee meetings will be occurring before then.
They got out sooner rather than later, but I think it's better.
Sorry.
Soon, sending it sooner rather than later.
Would be better, I think. So the committee's hearings are.
Yeah, so, and I'm assuming James can still hear us. James, I'm gonna give you my summary of what I've heard. Everybody's in favor of adding that. Could you work a little bit faster with, Ken primarily, I guess, but with Regina and Ben, whoever needs to from the staff responsible for the committee, and see if we can get that drafted a little bit sooner?
And Mr. Chair, are you saying then bring this letter back to the committee next meeting?
So here's what I've heard. You guys tell me what you think. No one's objected to it at all. And they approved the concept. So I think as long as the staff drafts the letter, and if you would like the chair and vice chair to review, I mean, you usually give me every letter to review, and I try to make sure they follow what the committee passes. But if you want a couple of people to review it, I think we do it, and if we can get it done sooner, we can.
I think we can draft a letter and then give it to you for signature review.
Okay,
Let's get
and
it.
Larry, I'd like to use you to also review it based on the comments we've heard today.
I'm not sure we can do that outside of.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. with you.
Oh, for more than one person? Okay,
Let's get her done.
I thought usually the letter come back to the board and the board.
No, this committee just approved the motion, and that motion will be put into a letter for the chair to sign.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought the letter itself needs to be reviewed by.
It can be, there's no,
It's just the time crunch because the legislative budget starts getting rid of next month.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you can send it out email, hey, this is there.
we can't do that outside of an advertisement. Well, we could send it out, but you can't,
comment.
I suppose you could.
Can't have a
You
discussion
can go
on
back
that.
to staff, you can't
More
email
than
it to
two.
each other.
You could send independent comments, I think, back to the staff, but we can't comment among ourselves.
That's getting a little fuzzy there.
So let me make sure I've got it and see if you guys are comfortable with this. We approve the concept. Okay, James gonna work on some language related to, read that again, so we've got it exactly. Local restaurants.
I'd like to add on to the wholesale comment that restaurants are desperately wanting to purchase local meat and need USDA certification. In support of a letter, I will draft something for next meeting. In that letter, I would suggest we include Mr. Bain's idea of vocational training through Santa Fe and the current culinary students.
Okay, so the added points of what we approve are the restaurants and cooperation on the recommendation for Santa Fe and East Side Culinary. So that would be the only thing that would be added.
And that Santa Fe High School in Alachua also, don't they do some good cattle? Don't they have a cattle?
Yeah.
program?
Yeah, they have FFA and the magnet program there, but they don't deal with meats, so to speak. They deal with the production. And I'll just say in there, and I know y'all include it, but the other thing about the USDA, not only, that's another reason is to sell to restaurants, but also for local farmers. Because
Okay, so Ken, we just need to make sure in the letter it's got the local farmers market along with James' point. And I think if we have that, when we have the minutes, we're gonna be fine of getting that done. So if they do start meeting on some of the local bills, that it can be up there, and it definitely will be up there before the start of the session. If there's no objection from the committee.
Personally, I don't need to see a letter before it goes out, so the faster it goes out, the better, this is the way to understand.
Yeah, whether I see it or not going out, I just want to copy. Yeah, that's how I was saying. Usually I thought the board get a copy. That's the point I would. Not ours.
The committee will definitely get a copy of the letter. is it, so it's, is the direction to staff to get language from James Long and Ecker, incorporate it into the letter and have the chair sign it and send the letter out?
Yes, that's what I've heard. Okay. Okay, so I always have to backtrack. We didn't approve the minutes, did we?
Right.
So all of you had a copy of the minutes from our last meeting, which we did meet in December, so it's been a while. Did anybody have any corrections or changes they wanted to suggest for those minutes? And the other thing, I just want to make the committee up, since people take the time to visit with us, we are sending thank you letters to all for taking the time out of their schedules and coming. So Ken sent me one this week that I'll be signing and getting back to him for Deputy Coon, who came and visited with us. So everybody's getting a thanks for taking their time and spending. So, okay, not hearing any changes. Anyone want to approve adoption of the minutes from November 15th?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 15th.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded. For no approval of November 15th minutes. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, that motion passes. Ken, I just want to go ahead while we're right here, and any other updates from staff that we should be aware about?
Pertaining to
Anything related to the committee or upcoming things we should be taking notice of, or?
I don't have anything. Mr. Chair.
Okay, anything, nothing on attendance reports you want to say or anything?
Well, we can share that. So there's one member, Cindy Sanders, is here today, who's been highlighted on the agenda before. And also
A trip to the assistant principal's office?
yeah. And must be here next meeting to maintain the minimum 50% of the last 6 meetings. Thank you.
So at this point, it's never to start over.
It never starts over. It's just the 6 meetings, the running total of the last 6 meetings.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's the attendance report.
Okay,
So it's always emailed out. And committee members are always welcome to ask staff if they have any questions about it. Right. Policy or the revenue.
okay, so my next question, is there any other new or old business that we should be addressing today? Or that you would like to address, or something coming up in the future? Yes.
Can I ask Dr. Sanders for the updates on rural internet? I'm sorry, I know.
So the rural internet met in November when I was out in family emergency, same reason I wasn't here in November. And I did not attend that meeting. They have not sent out anything of future meetings, so I do not know when.
Well, that's an important point, because the Association of Counties is having a big rural broadband meeting next week over at the Marriott in Jacksonville, which they've got over 300 people signed up, and I wonder if anybody from Alachua County.
I'm sure Ahmad, and I'm not sure his name, Ahmad or Amar from New City and Newberry is our chair of this committee, and Tommy Crosby as well sits on it. So I would hope that one of them.
Because they're going to talk about funding sources and a variety of things. And I know all the county commissioners get that notice from the Association of Counties as well as the county manager, administrator.
Do you get the feeling they're having a hard time getting people to the table? Like
I think it's
industry?
No, we've got industry on the committee with electrical companies and things like that. It's just kind of a communication issue.
It's like a flat.
Yeah, and like I said, I missed the November meeting because I was out of town. So I'm not sure what happened, and we've not seen any minutes. I any updates, so I'm not sure. Maybe Tommy Crosby is the one we maybe should ask.
Well, we've had him a couple of
Yeah.
times.
And I sent you the contact, didn't I, for our chair? He's works for the city of Newberry here.
Yes. Right.
I guess one of the things I asked for, and this is kind of convoluted, but I was talking with a group out of Indiana who just used the same pot of money to do this. And they were using AT&T to come and basically put it up everywhere. A little different system. But they did pass on a contact name who was like the point person at AT&T who basically brought it to the county wide. I don't know if there's something to share that with, if that is possible or necessary, or if there's already kind of like a plan and we're beyond that stage now.
Well, as of November, before that meeting, they had not shared the survey data yet with our committee. Maybe they did it at the November meeting. But there's other Central Florida Co-op. Co-op is already working on broadband.
Yeah, I know we've kind of like pulled out of the group. And
Yeah. And we have part of Alachua County is in Central Florida, so they are already working on that. What's the other one? Power company, electric company, not Clay. Duke. There's a member of Duke on this, and there's also a member of Central Florida Co-op on this committee. And I believe Clay. But I haven't heard anything Clay's doing yet. That's all I know. I apologize for being.
No, it's fine. I completely, it's just been a while since I could bother you about it. Right.
It's cost of funding, I know they have members going to a city meeting, and they, you know, was want to be a part of that on the city level.
Your GRU was invited. I don't know the attendance, so I'm not sure if they're there or not. But yeah, GRU is. I can send, well, Ken has the contact with the city, maybe of the chair. Maybe we ask him to come. Chair Ken.
Or just an update from him on.
I've asked for minutes.
And I don't know what.
Well,
I
I
don't
think,
know, as a committee. A meeting like that?
so the issue, I think, and maybe my memory is incorrect, but there's some way that this is not a public body.
That's correct.
And therefore, they're don't have to, not required to share the public
Yeah.
notices and stuff like that. And I think that's maybe hampering the progress some, or at least having some idea of what they're doing.
Like, I was just gonna ask you, but I also assume I can't ask you that question outside of the meeting, so, because it's rural concerns committee related.
Right. But our rule benefit is not sunshine.
Would think any individual has like to contact that committee and ask for information as an individual.
They probably just doesn't.
But
But yeah. But yeah, if we could have.
So let me ask a question, county staff, are the commissioners giving any updates on the progress on that?
I haven't heard.
I haven't seen him present.
I mean, I see Tommy there a lot, but it's always about finance issues. And of course, that's his primary responsibility, but.
Unless he's mentioning it in his presentations. Mr. Crosby.
I know the money is pretty time limited on this project, and I would hate for. Not like I can do a lot about that, but I know it's time limited on this project for what they're doing, or they say it is at this point.
And it's 5 different counties.
Right.
And it's, yeah, I guess my question is like,
You-
is there more that we can push to do with this? Because
Mr. Chair, do you want me to reach out to that committee chair?
Armand.
I don't feel like that's up to me to make that decision. I mean, it's a group decision we made.
yeah, I don't need him to come to the meeting or anything. I don't know if he just. Like, I feel like as the Rural Concerns Committee, one of the biggest concerns here in rural is that we don't have internet and we can't get internet. So I don't want us to be like hands off.
And
That's what I'm saying.
we have problems with our committee members who need to come up, connect,
Oh,
online,
I can't-
and we have problems with the public who wants to connect online, you can't.
Yeah,
hear?
yeah, I guess I don't have the role concern committee to not feel concerned about this process. It is one of the bigger, even economic problems in that, in the rural. So I don't know, a letter or pushing or
So
you just
what
calling
I
Bob.
suggest that as a committee member of that, I've already emailed him for minutes, but that doesn't happen. Maybe I CC Ken on it. That our rule, as a member of the Rural Concerns Committee, we are requesting, has the survey applicant, and where are we in the process? Maybe if I put Ken on.
Would she copy you on that?
Yeah, that's.
Well, copy Tommy too. Okay, good point. Ken and I visit frequently between meetings, believe it or not. So we always try to know a little bit ahead. What we've got tentatively planned on the next one, because one of the issues I see, it always concerns me, is we do a lot of things, but I'm not sure what the outcome and goal was. So they had the tourism workshop. And so anyway, we've got the person associated with that lined up to come in February and update us and talk about what their plans are to do with that. Seems like there was another thing. What's slipping my mind?
So we have Jessica Hurrah, who's the director of county tourism, and she organized or produced that agritourism.
We work,
conference.
yeah, we work together on it. Yep.
She's agreed to come in February and talk about that conference and whatever agritourism strategic planning is happening in the county. And then the other was Holly Banner, the county zoning administrator, that works with permitting and regulation of tourism in the rural area, events and bed and breakfast and the overnight stay,
Right.
stay, and those things is agreed also to come and answer questions related.
Right, and Ms. Werner had some questions related to that, and it's related to the staycation process was going through, so she's on the agenda for next meeting, who has some responsibility on all those things tourism related in the rural areas of the county. So, and we can get the other people back on, such as the broadband. The issue with it to me is that we've had a couple of updates and it just seems like they're not telling us very much. And since it's not public, they're not required to sort of report what's going on.
I agree. I don't think we need to spend committee time having them tell us nothing new has happened, but.
Hopefully a lot happened in November.
If that's the case, you'll be volunteer to be absent more often, won't you, if a lot got done? Any other items that we should be considering, Ken?
Mr. Chair, so I'm monitoring my email during this meeting, and so I got an email from someone who was here by phone and now is not, that I can see, but it's Tamara Robbins, and she emailed at 4:58, which I think maybe it was right after the motion. So this is, I'll read her email.
Okay.
This is the email from Tamara Robbins. No request for public comment on the motion. A motion to call the question is not debatable. However, it is a motion to be voted on. Stopping debate is serious action.
Okay, so let me ask, and I guess you may have to go back. I did ask if anybody from the public wanted to comment, correct? And we heard nothing.
And she may have been on the Zoom at that point, and I didn't see her. We didn't see her. No one saw her. I I had been monitoring it throughout the meeting and she may have come on somewhere in there and I didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be tough watching both of them. I haven't seen another, personally, I haven't seen another phone number other than James.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Public does not comment on our motion on whether.
No,
They
there's
have
a
no
public
input.
comment, period.
That goes at the end of the meeting under general public comments.
No, I think, Ken, you can correct me. I think we can allow for public comments at any point in the meeting. But they aren't the ones who determines the, I guess for lack of a better term, the parliamentary procedures and based on what we see. But I don't know what we do. The only way you could tell if there's another phone number up there now is go back and see if it's
There was a second one, and when I saw this email, I looked and I saw a second number, which I think was probably her. But now it's not there, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so nobody called a question, did they? I didn't hear, I don't remember.
Vote for something.
I don't know.
The letter.
The agenda.
No, it was on the left.
Something
Yeah.
more, it wasn't, nobody had debate, so she had asked for debate already. We called the question.
And there's two different motions. There's call for the previous question, or there's a question, the group is ready to vote.
Right, and so we went through this once before a little bit, and Ken hunted up and everything. So the county uses a slightly different version than Robert's rules. And the comment that she made is not incorrect. A question is non-debatable. A call for the question is non-debatable. It is votable, but you can't debate it. But and I'm not going to claim I got perfect memory. I just don't remember hearing a call for the question as it related to the letter to.
It was on the.
But we can't verify that unless we do the, watch the film.
So back, Robert rules or comment.
No, it's not Robert's rules. It's some standard,
I thought the book.
it's some standard,
I don't know.
It's American
standard.
Society of Parliamentarians.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. And did you send out the information? I think just not that long ago as well.
No, I didn't.
I mean, that's the information, it's in the bylaws, maybe that follow.
Okay.
American Association of Parliamentarians. Standard procedure.
But the email doesn't say what their comment was, does it?
No, I just read.
So
the
they're just
email.
telling us we follow parliamentary procedure incorrectly?
It
Okay.
is what it is, I mean, it's what I read.
So, Ken, I guess the only way to resolve this question is, can you send me the, I guess, text that you got?
Email.
Send me the email. And after this is up, where we can go back and watch the film, we need to go to whatever section they raised a question about. Would you read the email one more time?
No request for public comment on the motion. Motion to call the question is not debatable. However, it is a motion to be voted on. Stopping debate is serious action.
I'm not even sure that parliamentary procedure is correct.
Well,
Because there's no
I'm not
public
sure we
comment
stopped.
section.
I'm not sure we stopped debate, but I don't know.
Yeah, she said that orders automatically stops the debate. There's no debate once you call the question, you can't debate.
But I think she was looking for a
So
public.
she was saying that for a person to call the question without giving consideration of the debate, that's what I'm assuming. I don't know.
Okay, well,
I don't know who the person is.
until I see the email, I won't try to do it, but I think the only way we can answer that question is see the comment and try to match it up with what went on at that point in time. But we did ask for public comment, but we don't have to call for it about after every section.
And I think, again, this is all on the recording, but I'm not sure if she was on the call when you asked for public comment. She hasn't been here the whole meeting. She's not here now.
Yeah,
I have no addition. See this visit.
okay,
We supported, or many people did, and we promised that the new sales tax increase, if I recall, 1.5% would be used for road construction or improvements. And I know they probably haven't got that in place yet at the county, but in some future meeting, I would like to have this committee revisit that and see if the county commission is actually doing what they sold to the public that are going to do with that money, that 1.5% would be used for road improvements or construction.
okay. And we did get that update from Ramon. But that's the last update we had on that. But we can put that on the agenda. Right. It was.
So a lot of people have complained that that didn't happen in the past, but the money was supposed to be allocated for road work. It didn't happen, so I think this committee should make sure that what was promised gets done.
Okay.
Comment if not.
Okay, and actually that's maybe a question that could be best addressed by Tommy as the director of finance. I'm thinking he can track which pot things are going into, correct? Okay, anything else?
Yeah, and on that same line, I know the tax dollars for the schools that have been like renovated. I heard talk to people involved on, they said that their school, their high school didn't get any renovation. And also know that I went to one of their meetings, and there were meetings that they're not, Alachua County is not passing out the gas taxes equally. And I know they was probably going to try to see what they can do legally, but I know that was also a concern with gas taxes, which I think that's 301 or whatever it is, bringing in, they did the numbers, but they bring in a lot of revenue. They didn't get in the gas tax. And like I said, the high school didn't get, they said they didn't get any renovation done to their schools. I know a lot of other schools have been getting done, and I don't know what order they're doing it in, but I know most schools are probably almost done with renovations. On the east side, when they did their premiere, they did there, and a few folks too. So, but yeah, Hawthorne High School, they didn't get anything.
Okay, so and your interest is in schools in rural areas.
Yeah.
Right, because that would be a function that we have to get someone, if we were to look at that from the school board, to address, not the county commission, because they control the budget for that. Okay, anything else anybody wants to bring up?
Mr. Chair, there's this back and forth by email, and I'm not sure who that number is. That may be Tamara Robbins there. At any rate, she says, I have been online this entire meeting. I tried to unmute, but it did not work. I don't know what to say. *6 is all I know.
So can you see the history of when, all the way for the whole time in the meeting?
Yeah, you can see it after the meeting's over. And then when I can't, all I can see is a phone number, and all I can do is hit ask to unmute, and I emailed *6 is how you unmute. That's all I can do.
So, but can you tell when they join the meeting?
Yes.
You can?
Not right now on that.
Okay, so pass that information along when you do it, and we'll try to solve the problems, because it's never the intention to void those type situations. And we don't follow strictly what the Board of County Commissioners does, which they give the 3 minutes public input at the start or ending of every meeting, but I just don't remember the question, but I'm being called for. But we'll try to get that straightened out. So anything else, Mr. Baines?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Baines that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
If we come up with topics of like discussion for the next meeting, should we just email Ken?
Yes, if you have a topic that you would like to see added at a meeting, and because of the time frame of some of these people, we have to get them sort of lined up. So we got February sort of lined up. That doesn't mean that we couldn't add somebody in or see if we could rearrange. But if you do have a suggestion after the fact, yes, you can email the staff. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you so much. It's good to see so many of you back.